He's dribbling the ball with everything on the line. He's driving down the pitch. He's facing price hikes and cuts past him. Carrier Contracts tries to block him. Oh, he leaves him in the dust. He's at the edge of the box. He cuts past the nonstop group chat trash talk. He clears on goal. He shoots. Goal! Unlimited data for $25 a month forever!
Visit your local Boost Mobile store today to get unlimited data with a price that never changes. Boost Mobile. After 30 GB, customers may experience lower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost $25 unlimited plan.
Here's a tip for you. There's a podcast out there with fans waiting to be your next customer. They tune in every week, they trust the host, and that host wants to talk about brands like yours in their own words to their audience. The problem is, you just haven't been introduced yet. We're Acast, where that introduction happens. As the world's largest podcast marketplace, we let you browse shows, see who's listening, and book host-read sponsorships or run your own ads all from one platform. Transparent pricing, real-time data, complete control. Start advertising on podcasts by visiting acast.com/advertise.
Oh, no.
Tash, I saw the film Cruising recently from 1980.
Oh, I don't know it.
Do you know Al Pacino?
I do.
Well, you need to know that he was in a film where he was playing a straight undercover cop hunting down a gay serial killer among all the gay S&M clubs in New York.
Oh, wow.
And it's very, very sexy and very, dangerous because, you're at risk of being murdered, but also you're being fisted. And you're Al Pacino and you're sniffing poppers. And there's this crazy bit where there's an interrogation happening in a police cell and they have this other cop just come in and, slap the person, and it's very dramatic.
Oh my God, this sounds so hot.
It's a great film.
Okay,
it's
sexy.
Kind of crazy.
Deep Rush. You're listening to The Logbooks. These are the stories of our lives. We are Tash Walker
and Adam Zmith.
We're telling tales about history, politics, art, and LGBTQ plus life. Adam.
Yes.
What's the story?
What is the story? Well, the story is from Amnesty International. They've published a report this spring in May that was called Like a Snowball, the growth and impact of the gender critical movement in the UK.
Yeah, okay.
And what they've done is they've looked at all of the money that's coming into the UK, mostly from the USA, to basically fund gender critical or anti-trans political movements and campaigns here. And they've taken that and they've analysed that, and then they've specifically analysed newspaper headlines and stories over the past couple of years. And what they found was that between January 2020 and April 2025, the media coverage of issues about trans people, which is roughly the time period when things have just escalated and gotten out of control, basically, in a negative way for trans people, that the media coverage has been excessively high compared to the size of the trans population,
right,
and their role in public society, and that prime ministers and ministers are always quoted in these stories. So it has this massive effect of making readers think, or media consumers think, that this is a way, way, way bigger political story than it needs to be, and that it affects way more people when actually, the size of the trans population is quite small.
Why are they so obsessed with us?
Well, I don't know. They're just obsessed. I mean, they found that Amnesty found, well, you're not Amnesty being obsessed, you're talking about the gender critical movement being obsessed. Amnesty found that, they looked at 17,000 articles, news articles from 4 different outlets, and they found that in an average month there were 264 articles, which means 9 per day.
Wow.
And that most of the reports are negative towards trans people. And trans people often don't appear in the stories, but when they do, they're either criminals or murder victims. So it's always a negative thing. So basically, the effect of this is that the media is basically saying, funded by mostly big US anti-trans groups, the media is basically saying trans people are a huge, huge problem in society. Everything about them is negative, and politicians think this is a major, major, major big deal.
Yeah, and also quite anti-abortion, far-right Christian movements, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're sort of all mixed in together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting. It's so classic, like deflection, scapegoating politics, when the real issue is actually happening by the people who are funding it.
Yeah.
And they are trying to point over there at a glorious, beautiful cacophony of humans who make this world better.
Exactly.
And actually, they're the ones who are making it worse.
Exactly. So we will put a link to that study in the episode notes. And then after that, let's have a little bit of a break.
He's dribbling the ball with everything on the line. He's driving down the pitch. He's facing price hikes and cuts past him. Carrier contracts, tries to block him. Oh, he leaves him in the dust. He's at the edge of the box. He cuts past the nonstop group chat trash talk. He clears on goal. He shoots. Goal! Unlimited data for $25 a month forever!
Visit your local Boost Mobile store today to get unlimited data with a price that never changes. Boost Mobile. After 30 GB, customers may experience lower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost $25 unlimited plan.
While every other channel is fighting for your customers' attention, podcasts are where they've already given it. No one accidentally listens to a podcast for 45 minutes. They choose to be here. They trust the voice in their ears, and when that voice talks about your brand, it doesn't sound like advertising. It sounds like a recommendation from a friend. Acast gives you that trust at scale. Digital precision, host-read authenticity, and performance data that proves it worked. Don't fight for attention. Buy it with Acast. Learn more by visiting acast.com/advertise.
Tash, what have you brought for our messy middle for this episode?
Well, what an excellent question, Adam. I am taking you back to Bradford, where we went.
Bradford.
What was that?
Bradford.
It's so good. Okay, fine. I'm going to move on. We were in Bradford on a book tour. We did an event there at the amazing Waterstones. That building was just incredible, wasn't it?
The old wool exchange.
The old wool exchange in Bradford. Do check Bradford out if you haven't been. It's a really amazing place full of so much radical social history. But before we did this brilliant little book event, hosted by Alice Parsons from Castles in the Sky, I headed down a bit earlier to hear more about the work that Alice is doing in Bradford in capturing the queer history that's there, talked a bit about the Bradford Gay Switchboard and all of the wonderful work that has happened within this hotbed of a town, and also had a little bit of a tour of some of the things from the archive. So I hope you enjoy it.
Great. Let's listen to you and Alice now.
So Adam and I are in Bradford because we're doing an event here at Waterstones with Alice from Castles in the Sky, and I have arrived a little bit earlier to Waterstones, which is an amazing building, to have a chat with Alice about the incredible work that she is doing in Bradford, all to do with the queer history here, specifically around Bradford Gay Switchboard and Bradford Lesbian Line. So I'm going to go into this amazing building and see if I can find her. So I'm just going to go up these stairs. I think that's where Alice is going to meet me. Oh, yeah, there she is. I can see her with the gorgeous sunshine streaming in this amazing building. Hello, Alice.
Hello, Tash.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Wow, this building is amazing. So we're in Waterstones, which is where we're doing the event later. But I mean, not to throw you in the deep end, but what's the history of this building? Can you describe it? Because it's so big and light.
Yeah, it's a very Gothic building. It was the wool exchange. Back in the day, Bradford, as some people might know, was once the wealthiest city in the country because of its wool history, its wool trade, and this is where people would get on the floor in this huge building, which now is filled with lovely bookshelves, but used to be a kind of flat floor, like a stock room, essentially, for people to trade and barter over the price of wool.
I love that. That's so good. More wool, please. I'm so excited for our event tonight, but that's not what I want to talk to you about right now. No. I mean, we first met, it was about a year ago.
That's right.
I think when you got in touch because of some events that you were running, Bradford in the Pink, which were amazing, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about them. But it soon transpired that we have a lot of overlapping work that we do, specifically around queer history, queer heritage. So maybe you could just introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about what you're doing here in Bradford.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Alice, and my pronouns are she, her, and I run a company called Castles in the Sky Projects, which is Bradford's kind of arts, cultural and heritage organisation. It started out of a real desire. I'm not from here. I've lived here for 10 years. It started out of wanting to figure out what was going on here for queer people, and on the back of that, making more things for us to do and ways to meet one another. So that led me to setting up Bradford's LGBTQ+ archive, the Bradford Queer Film Festival, a drag king night that's run for the last few years called Out Out, and basically anything and anyone that will engage with me about queer life in Bradford gets roped into some kind of project or some kind of event. And yeah, like you said, you got involved initially because of Back in the Pink, which was last year. Bradford was amazing. We were the UK City of Culture, and as part of that, Castles in the Sky was invited to celebrate our queer heritage through cultural events, and we had a project, Back in the Pink, which was a riff on Bradford in the Pink, a festival that took place in Bradford in the 80s, ran by the Bradford Gay Switchboard Committee.
And it was amazing. I mean, you're a hub. You've just told us this. A hub of history and community and queerness. Out Out is such a good name for a night. But yeah, it was such an amazing experience. Like, that was my first time in Bradford, and I don't know if it is what it's normally like in Bradford of a weekend, but I was running a panel. I was chairing a panel with some of the previous volunteers at Gay Switchboard and Lesbian Line up here in Bradford, which was amazing, and it was so wonderful to hear their stories, and hopefully we'll get to see some of them later tonight. But there was also this incredible party that you put on, and like, honestly, I was like, everyone needs to move to Bradford. It's a vibe.
People do say that. People come along and then they go, it's Bradford. There was actually a campaign in Bradford in the 80s and 90s from the local council, and the slogan for Bradford was "Bradford, a surprising place." And I still think that is so relevant today. It's quite a misunderstood place. Everyone says this about the place they live, but I truly think Bradford's either misunderstood or just not really known. So to have that moment in the spotlight last year where people could come and meet us on our own terms, we could tell our story our own way, and for me and for Castles in the Sky, that was the kind of, our story was the queer heritage story. For that to be able to happen and be supported through all this funding that actually also saw that things like parties were part of our culture and heritage. Like you said, you took part in you chaired one of the amazing panels, and we had a couple of other chats that day. And for me, the kind of party element is just as much a part of queer heritage as the discussions, as the film screenings that we also did. So yeah, the party was a lot of fun, and we also were able to bring David Hoyle to Bradford for the first time, and just all these kind of things that if you told me that was going to happen 10 years ago when I moved here, I'd have been like, what? Why am I bringing David Hoyle to Bradford? Like,
and what happened when David Hoyle came? Chaos. Yeah. Absolute chaos. I was, one of the other panel talks that I was on just before the one I was doing. The one I was doing was on the Switchboards and the Lesbian Lines, and thinking about those memories and the experiences of the people who'd volunteered. But it was the one which was on the printing press that was here, and they did a lot of the posters for the Gay Liberation Front. I wondered if you could just tell us a bit about that, because they were amazing. The posters are outstanding, and they're amazing.
They are. So the other talk was chaired by Zorian Clayton, who is a fantastic curator of prints at the V&A, as well as being a programmer at BFI Flair. And Zorian and I met, similarly had like lots of overlapping, the Venn diagram of queer life across Britain kind of experience. And so Zorian, actually as keeper of that collection at the V&A, looks after one of the Bradford in the Pink posters, and that was the very first time I saw that poster was on the V&A's website. So years ago I did the search we all do, Bradford LGBTQ or wherever you live, and that came up, and that was the kind of initial clue to something was going on, something's afoot in Bradford. And so I kind of sought out finding who this Bradford Gay Switchboard were, because they're named on the poster, which led me to wonderful people, some of whom you interviewed. Like, it initially led me to someone called Graham Glover, who you spoke to on your panel, but it also led me to Alan Richardson, who was one of the 3 founding members of the Bradford Community Print Shop, which is where that poster and hundreds of other posters actually were made. largely, like you said, to do with things like Gay Liberation Front, but also around that same time and slightly later on, Bradford's huge presence as an anti-fascist space, a space of kind of cross-community solidarity, a place really resisting the presence of the far right. So we've ended up actually acquiring all of Alan's posters, which include and tell a really interesting story actually about that solidarity and about the role of, yes, he was a gay man, and his late partner Colin was also a fantastic printmaker, but they were also activists and community members. So yeah, the Bradford Community Print Shop ran in a few different guises for the kind of next decade or just over. And they'd also print, your poster for your gymnastics class if you needed. They were available to hire, but it was also a facility for them to make work and distribute their own activities.
I didn't know that was like your entry point into all of this queer history, so that's amazing. But I mean, I can understand why, because they're so vibrant in colour, and there's some on your Instagram, isn't there, on Cast in the Sky, that people can look at, but they're really, really striking and would be very, very current today, and immediately I was very drawn in by the visuals. You were just talking then about Bradford being a sort of hub of anti-fascist activity. I was... The store's closing in 5 minutes because we're going to be chatting. When we started the logbooks in 2019, we just wanted to hear about the real lives of LGBTQ plus people in Britain, going all the way back to the 1970s. But actually, we built a community of listeners. So thank you for listening to us and with us as we continue to tell the stories of our lives.
And for just £4 a month on our Patreon, you can get all the episodes ad-free. That is just £1 per episode. And you'll join our inner circle with exclusive access to what we're working on and how we're thinking, from exclusive posts to Q&As with me and Tash. Your support always helps us to keep all the main episodes free to everyone all the time. Just go to patreon.com/AuntNell.
I was wondering and thinking about what I witnessed here when I came to Bradford last time, and also the Gay Switchboard here, the Lesbian Line, the print shop, the GLF. What is it about Bradford that is creating this sort of hub of activism and creativity? Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely different answers across the generations. At the time, in the early 70s, Bradford was a real hub for creative people to move here for the creative arts. It had a fantastic art school at the college and the university, brilliant printmaking facilities. David Hockney studied here, he's from here. You're looking at a lineage of, and also not just artists, gay artists, queer artists. And then the university and the college tell a really fascinating story. Bradford has got a really, really rich and unique history of peace activism. The Peace Museum is here, the UK's only museum dedicated to the study of peace, because the Peace Studies course was founded here in Bradford. So you also had a lot of particularly lesbians actually moving to Bradford to do the Peace Studies course, or a very pioneering, what was then the Women's Studies course and is now the Gender Studies course. So the university was attracting like a really radical crowd, and Bradford was also and has always really been quite a transient place, a place of lots of people from lots of different places arriving here, making it their homes, living side by side, which also has made it a favourite target of the far right, because of its very existence and resistance in falling for this trap that we can't live together in some kind of harmony. So it was kind of out of necessity as well. It's interesting, some of the Gay Switchboard members and some of the people I've worked with over the course of my research, when I ask them how they'd identify themselves, they say as Manninghamites. And Manningham is a place in Bradford that is still known today as a really kind of vibrant, diverse part of the city. But a lot of people would live in kind of shared housing, squats in Manningham, and that's how they'd get involved in anti-fascist work as well as gay lib work. Also, solidarity with the unemployed. Bradford has an amazing anarchist club that's been open for 45 years now, the 1 in 12, which was founded by a group of claimants. So all of these things were happening in tandem with each other. And I mean, the 1 in 12 is so interesting to me also. I mean, I've been a paid up member since I moved here, but the 1 in 12 is, they had a big outdoor kind of festival to raise funds back in the early 80s, and Chumbawamba played. And that is where what would become the Gay Switchboard Collective, like, sold rice salad to buy their answer phone.
Wow.
So like all these things are connected. They weren't happening in any kind of parallels. They were totally overlapping. Like, it's not a Venn diagram, it's a circle. Oh
my God, I love this. It's so great. And what you're doing in your work is drawing our attention back to those connections, and you're doing that through archives and archiving. And I know lots of people have been donating items to you, ephemera, posters, like Alan's posters. What's happening at the moment with all of that work? And I know hopefully we'll get to see some of the archive later on this evening.
Yeah. The archive kind of grew very rapidly from its inception, mainly due to, lots of people being very generous, but also there's a building in Bradford that was called the Resource Centre. Resource centres were quite commonplace across the UK. They'd have kind of facilities like, photocopying and faxing and making posters, whatever, but also they'd have libraries and access to information. The Bradford Resource Centre closed in the early 2000s but was never emptied, and it's where I found the Lesbian Line logbook. Just in the basement. So quite quickly we were acquiring kind of thousands of items from there. So, which is quite rare for a community archive to be able to demonstrate its breadth and its necessity so quickly. Usually it takes a long time to build up that kind of archive because, as you'll know, archives are also a lot about trust and relationship development and friendship. So it all happened quite quickly, and again, with the UK City of Culture happening, we were so fortunate in the timing that some light was able to be shed on it, and to celebrate it quite quickly, which led to a small amount of funding, but any funding is great, to start digitising that archive. So where we're at now is we've digitised 300 items from the archive and catalogued 200 of those, and we're on track to hit 500 probably by the end of the month.
Okay.
Which is amazing because we've had a fab group of volunteers from all across the city, all across the district, actually, people coming from Huddersfield and Leeds to help out. So we're in a big kind of digitising and cataloguing push because now, as I think maybe we'll talk about this later, the kind of weight of having all of that and kind of almost feeling like I'm gatekeeping it because it's just in this room that I manage I was desperate to share it, and I am desperate to share it, and that's every event we do pretty much. I'll get something out from the archive, even just to slightly illuminate or like ground us in history or in our shared heritage. So today, the archive items that are out are mainly related to Bradford Gay Switchboard and Lesbian Line and some of the Bradford campaign against Section 28, because obviously with the framing of the book. And I found some London lesbian and gay switchboard stuff actually as well, so I've brought that out to show you guys, although I'm sure you'll have seen everything by this point. But yeah, the idea is we're still collecting, still open to collecting, but really on that digitising push to keep demonstrating the need for it and the importance of the archive. I mean, like I said, I wasn't brought up in Bradford, but it's so fascinating to me showing this material to people who, particularly queer people, queer friends of mine who have grown up in Bradford and have been led to believe that there is no queer heritage here because it's been invisibilised because of lack of formal archives or lack of support around communicating those stories, connecting us to our elders, all things impacted, of course, and expedited due to Section 28. So even just seeing people see a photo and go, there were gay people here before me, is incredible.
It's so powerful, this work of connection, and it's drawing those lines. It's drawing those lines with a dark Sharpie that have been invisibilised, right? And like you said, have been invisibilised. They've always been there, but how do we know that connection existed unless we have the evidence to see it? And so much of what we're talking about with the book and on the wider tour and with our work is the power of community, the power of collectivity, especially at the moment, especially when it comes to the far right rising, the transphobic attitudes bleeding into wider queerphobia, homophobia, lesphobia, all of those sorts of things that are happening. If we can pull back to the history and look back and see that, then there's a strength with us, of everyone who existed and lived before. And I think that this work is so important. I think it's so important, Alice. So thank you so much for doing it. You mentioned the digitization of it. Will that be accessible for people to see themselves online, or?
Yes, so we're building a website simultaneously, which is so exciting. And also it will serve as, the archive. And I think this is something I've always been obsessed with, like collecting things and documenting my own life. There's just, I don't know, some kind of impulse in me to do that. And I've worked a lot of my work before going freelance. I did work in museums and galleries, in archives, and as in curatorial roles. So really encouraging people to also archive the present. Yes. And there's something really amazing about how we're building the website that shows people, an event we did 2 weeks ago or back in the Pink or whatever, in the same space as in 1973 people were meeting in above what is now a nail shop, or homosexual men and women, as the poster declares, were meeting for the very first Bradford GLF meetings. Like, those things all need to exist together, past and present, for me. The archive is not static and it must grow, and I also don't want someone in 40 years time to be like, what were they getting up to in 2021? And like, I could have just been saving our posters and putting it aside. So it's also as much about documenting the present and celebrating the present in conversation with the past, which is also why so many of our events turn out to be really intergenerational, which is a huge aim for me and a huge win for all of us.
Yeah, it's so important. And what you're talking about reminds me of queer time. Just because something's happening now and it happened 40 years ago doesn't mean that it's still not happening in that moment, connected together again. Yeah. And like, when we make those connections, we find those stories, those living archives inside of us, and then we all sort of live again in that moment, right? And I love the idea of being mindful to not just remember the history, but know that you are making history, right? And which is a wider, really important point around redefining what history is, and putting ourselves on that shelf, saying, no, we belong here. This is our history. This is your history too. Even if you're not queer, we're a part of this, and listen up. Oh my God, so good to talk to you. I mean, we could talk for ages, and we have
and we
historically, and we will today. And I'm so looking forward to the event. But I would love it if you would show me some of the archival items before everyone else arrives. Would that be all right?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so is it down here, the archive?
Yes, we're going to be showing it down here anyway. This is where our event will be happening.
We're on
all the chairs. We're in the main space now. We're getting ready for the event. And we've got this little setup over here in the corner.
Wow, look at this. Okay. Oh my God, I'm seeing pink, I'm seeing colour, I'm seeing energy, I'm seeing queer.
They loved pink.
Yeah. Okay, Alice, maybe you could just talk me through it, and then, should we start over here? Yeah. It's pink, so... Yeah. Tumblers, what's going on here?
So Tumblers was a bar on because people didn't know if the street was called the pub was called the Tumble Inn at some point. Okay. And it was on a steep street. There's a lot of steep streets in Bradford, but what we're looking at is a Fight Clause 28 poster for a benefit against the clause, ran in February of 1988. It kind of explains a little about what Clause 28 might mean. Obviously, then, a lot of this was speculative. We would get to find out what the real impact would be. Yeah. But it references, no gay literature in libraries, feels pertinent. We're here in Waterstones in a bookshop. Yeah. Potential worries for gay venues or nightclubs, and financial support, things like that. Basically, a call to action for people who might want to come and support the event if they also felt like this would be something unjust.
What I love about this, this is what I love about the detail of these amazing posters, the ephemera, which is what they call it in archives and the like, is that you get an insight into, someone making it, right? Like, you've got this, someone's got like a little Tumblr's nightclub invitation that's handwritten, stop the clause. And there's also a whiskey promotion that's going on. 50p for whiskey, maybe. And then on the right-hand side, we've got this this handwritten note that says lesbians and gays are under attack. This month, the local government finance bill was passed in the House of Commons. To think that information is being handwritten and passed around is really quite incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Whereas you think about what we do today, it's like a social post that goes up, and then it just, next thing you know, it's going from the one to the next to the next.
Exactly, and this is how a lot of it also survived in a kind of accidental sense, in that it was just never thrown away, which I find really fascinating as well. And I think there's a part actually in your book where you refer to these things weren't people weren't creating archives with archives in mind. They were keeping information that was useful to each other, and now it's useful to us, but because we found it in the basement of a derelict building. Yeah. So, and we found some amazing stickers. This is like against Clause 28 kind of frame that we're looking at initially.
And it's the pink triangle reclaimed, which is so amazing to see, very iconic imagery. Yeah. Okay, so this middle one here, I'm seeing Switchboard, I'm seeing Lesbian Line, and we've got some photos of people on marching as well, which is so good. Oh my God, I love the haircuts. They're so similar to now, actually. Yeah. Okay, talk me through this one.
This one is kind of a jumble of items that we've found related to Gay Switchboard and Lesbian Line. Part of it is kind of invites and ticket stubs for the benefit discos and events that both the Lesbian Line and Gay Switchboard would run. Gay Switchboard was particularly known for kind of moving around a lot, and they'd use a lot of different venues. This one, Stars, is a real favourite of mine, Gay Disco at Stars. It happened a few times, but Stars is a nightclub that no longer exists, but is above the Bradford ice skating rink. There's a very famous ice rink here, so I can just imagine all the teenagers leaving with their ice skating boots around their neck, and then all the gays heading up for a benefit disco. And this is a good one, this particular invite, because it references a raffle with lousy prizes.
I saw that. It's so good.
Which I really enjoyed.
And this In the Mood is the name of the swing time ball from Bradford Lesbian Line.
That's right, and you'll remember actually from the event, the Back in the Pink event, we had the Lavender Cafe Orchestra come and play, who are an amazing LGBTQ plus orchestra based here in West Yorkshire, and they have been performing since these events. Wow. So they've been around since the 80s themselves in different, obviously different setups. Different musicians have come and gone through the ranks of the Lavender Cafe Orchestra, but they were around at these balls that would happen at Victoria Hall in Saltaire largely. There's one actually happening soon in May with the Lavender Cafe Orchestra. But it just really talks to all of the kind of creative ways that both lines were thinking of raising money, the importance of nightlife for both of them in creating space and raising money, actually, creating community. And then we've also got in this frame, you referenced this fab yellow kind of A5 document that explains the role of and the kind of intention of Bradford Lesbian Line. It was written in about 1984, this one, and it's got this brilliant telephone design wrapped all around it, which I kind of love. The kind of motif of the phone, of the dial-up, I think is fab. And I'm just really interested. We've got quite a lot in the archive of the Lesbian Line and the Gay Switchboard talking about themselves and constantly trying to kind of explain who they were and what their role was, and you can see that changing over time as new volunteers have come and gone, or as the demands on the line have changed. But this is a pretty early one for Lesbian Line, which survived in Bradford for more than 20 years, which is a lot longer than most local kind of regional lines survived.
What were the years of the Lesbian Line?
It opened in 1981 and shut in around 2002.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So that's straddling almost Section 28 years, but slightly earlier. I was just reading this while you were talking about it. It's quite amazing. Films and books often this is the Lesbian Line leaflet. Films and books often portray lesbians as masculine-looking women who wear unfashionable or men's clothes, have short hair and no breasts. It's so good, but then more importantly, it's got things that people might want to reach out for. So visibility, relationships in public, loss of children in custody cases, because of course the custody battles for lesbians or women loving women where they never got custody of their child. Something that's so understudied within queer history.
There was a really active lesbian mothers group in Bradford actually around the time, and one of whom that I've spoken to, and she's trying to dig it out, went on national TV to talk about her custody case at the time on she couldn't remember the name of the host now, but those daytime, like a Trisha-esque but pre-Trisha kind of shows. So people were really active at the time here, and they were meeting at the Bradford Resource Centre, which I referenced earlier. But yeah, Lesbian Line. I'd like this as a very short, snappy. It's got a lot of personality. Like that first line you read, you know, they're not happy about what's going on, but then they also, you know, like you said, get down to business, and it's serious matters. And it's interesting for us because the Lesbian Line is the only logbook that we have. We don't have any gay switchboard logs or call sheets. We know that they existed, but we don't have them. So yeah, I would say this is true to how people wrote in the logbook for Lesbian Line.
Oh my God, I love that. The personality of the logbooks are just amazing. So this is great. This next frame here, we've got what we were talking about earlier, actually, Bradford in the pink. And are these some of Alan's prints of his posters? Is that some of his work?
So the one with the sheep here is like a kind of like a riff on the poster for that year, which was the sheep with the kind of iconic mills background of Bradford. And this was the programme for what would happen in the festival. It included talks, film screenings, discos, that kind of thing. And then the one in the bottom left corner, which has got the pink triangle with a rose through it, that is a riff on the poster for the previous year, 1984. The poster of which was designed by Colin Lloyd, who is Alan's late partner, who was also a printmaker and a print instructor and a fantastic lecturer. And so these are the two. It only happened twice, Bradford in the pink, but it's had a big impact on us as Bradford's Gay Festival, as they called it. So these are the two programmes, and then we've also got here a press release from the Bradford Gay Switchboard Collective about the first Bradford in the Pink Festival. I love that they had like letterheading. They were really very legit.
My favourite thing is the telephone numbers, 42895. That's it.
Yeah, and it changes. Actually, the telephone number changes for Gay Switchboards, and which is interesting because we had to kind of trace. On the previous frame that we were looking at, there's two photographs of different marches where one of the Bradford Gay Switchboard banners has a telephone number and the other doesn't. So, which has helped me to age them because no one remembered which march they were on.
Oh my God, amazing.
And the one that is 72206, the later phone number of Gay Switchboard, actually they handed over that phone number to Shakti, which was the Bradford's kind of LGBTQ plus line for people of colour. So that ended up carrying on as a line, and we're trying to find out more about that because we have very limited information.
Okay, well, if anyone out there knows anything about Shakti, then Alice is where you need to get in touch. Actually, I didn't ask you earlier, Alice, if anyone wants to hear more or find out more of the work that you're doing, what are the best places for them to find you?
Yeah, so the best place would be at the moment our Instagram account, Castles in the Sky Project, for the kind of archive in particular and the events we do around heritage. Pretty much everything we do will be on there. We're also, like I said earlier, launching a website which will be castlesinthesky.info. So if you type us into Google at some point, it's going to come up, and we'll obviously announce that on the Instagram when it's live. We've got a mailing list as well. The sign up for that is in the Instagram header, or people can drop us an email, hello@castlesinthesky.info, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions and welcome anyone in that feels like they might have skills or something to offer to get involved.
You're a fountain of knowledge. I think there's a book in you somewhere, Alice. Before we start to get ready for our evening, where we're going to be in conversation, Adam's going to pop down. I think he's probably having a nap. He sleeps well anywhere.
Good for him, yeah.
We've got some things on the table here. Now, immediately I was really drawn to this poster, which has got this grey old rotary-style phone with like a red wash over it. What are all these numbers that we can see on here?
So this poster was actually found again in the Bradford Resource Centre, and they are kind of all at the time, or a good selection of the numbers that one might need in Bradford. So Gay Switchboard is included on here, but you've also got things like the Women's Centre. Checkpoint is on here, which is a West Indian community centre, but actually was where the lesbian discos happened for about 20 years. The fortnightly ones, which I would say the Lesbian Line logbook is mostly taken up with inquiries of, is the Checkpoint disco on tonight? Is the most recurring
and then dealing with the drama the next day.
Yeah, the fallout the next day. And then, things like housing benefit. It's just a kind of what's happening in Bradford. But I really love this poster because it includes Gay Switchboard amongst all those other services.
Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for walking me through this archive. I'm really pleased that the people who are coming this evening are going to get to have a look at all of these amazing items that you and all the volunteers have been working hard to preserve and digitise. It's so great to see you again, Alice.
Yes,
I'm really looking forward to this evening, and thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Well, I think Bradford's struck gold there by having Alice Parsons come and live there. I mean,
think
it's
so.
amazing. She's doing amazing work there, and just hearing her passion for collecting all of the different items that is all about Bradford's queer history and celebrating that and bringing loads of people together. I mean, we saw it at the event. Like, she's a bit of a lightning rod
Totally.
Of bringing people together to talk about Bradford's history, especially the queer stuff. So it's great to hear her explain all of that.
Yeah, totally. And do go follow all the work that Alice is doing at Castles in the Sky online now. Adam, what are you up to?
Well, I'm going to be on a boat party. This sounds very bougie.
You love a boat party.
It's hopefully not giving, Peter Mandelson doing backroom EU trade deals on a yacht in Monaco or wherever. This is just about 200 people in a regular party that I like, that hires a boat every summer, goes up and down the Thames, and there's usually 3 DJs. The party is called Papa Loco. A DJ who I really love, Diana Isi, is playing, and it's just a really, really good vibe. And there's people dress up in stupid things, and it's like a sort of, I don't know, like, what do you call it, like a sort of techno hippie loving on Thames.
Oh, on Thames. On Thames.
On Thames.
Amazing. I can see how excited you are. It's really
great.
nice to see. Well, enjoy it, Adam. I'm going to see Robin again.
Great. Oh my
Obsessed.
God. Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode of The Logbooks. As you
He's dribbling the ball with everything on the line. He's driving down the pitch. He's facing price hikes and cuts past him. Carrier contracts, tries to block him. Oh, he leaves him in the dust. He's at the edge of the box. He cuts past the nonstop group chat trash talk. He clears on goal. He shoots. Goal! Unlimited data for $25 a month forever!
Visit your local Boost Mobile store today to get unlimited data with a price that never changes. Boost Mobile. After 30 GB, customers may experience lower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost $25 unlimited plan.
You've got social dialed in. Search is doing its thing. So why do your marketing results look the same as 6 months ago? That's because you're fishing in the same pond as everyone else. Podcast listeners are a different audience entirely. More engaged, harder to reach through traditional channels, and ready to act when someone they trust makes a recommendation. We're Acast, and we put them right in front of you. Browse thousands of the world's leading podcasts, book host reads or run your own ads, and track every conversion in real time. Same skills you already have, brand new results. Acast. Acast.com/advertise.
No, you can subscribe to our Patreon, where you get to join the inner circle and listen to what's going on in our brains and how we plan these episodes. And you get to have a chat with us if you want to do that. And in the meantime, you can also follow us on Instagram, which is, our Instagram, Tash?
AuntNell_.
Tash is our Instagram social media manager.
I am. That's my job for the day done now. Tick.
Yeah, there we go. So, right, let's go.
Thanks.
Let's go to the pub.
Bye.
The Logbooks is an Aunt Nell production.
It is hosted and produced by Tash Walker and Adam Zmith.
The assistant producer is Mia Campbell. Music from Soundstripe.
Original artwork by Natalie Doto.
With thanks to the dreamboats at Acast.